Yes, Sita. Good
Okay.
evening.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening and a very warm welcome to one and all present here. Today's webinar is on the topic pedestrian safety. Pedestrian safety is one of the most neglected issues in our country. In India, majority of the students walk to their institutes. Hence, pedestrian safety infrastructure outside campuses should be an utmost priority. Through this webinar, we shall know more about pedestrian safety and we shall highlight about signing the petition in demanding National Pedestrian Day on January 11th. A day without prayer is a day without blessings. So now I would like to invite Ms. Sri Sharavati, coordinator of TANSAC, to start this webinar with a prayer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let's kindly close your eyes so we can pray. Our lovely Heavenly Father, we come to you through our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you for this day, Lord. We pray for your presence to be there throughout the webinar and bless each and every person attending the webinar. We commit everything in thy precious hands. Thank you for hearing our prayers. To you alone be the glory and the honor. Be with us, guide us, and guard us. We ask all this in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Sharavati. Now I invite Ms. Jeffina Shali, Assistant Coordinator of TANSAC, to invite our guest speaker, Mr. Petson Peterson.
Citizen Consumer and Civic Action Group is a 36-year-old non-profit and non-political organization that works towards protecting citizens' rights in consumer and environmental issues and promoting good governance processes including transparency, accountability, and participatory decision-making. Mr. Petson Peter is a researcher with the Sustainable Transport team of the Citizen Consumer and Civic Action Group. He is involved in research and advocacy on urban mobility, sustainable development, urban planning, and civic issues. We are glad to have you among with us, sir. Welcome you.
Thank you, Jeffina. Now I request Sir to take over the session.
Hi, good evening all. Thank you very much for assembling here for this session. I would like to start by thanking the NSS office bearers who took great efforts in putting this event together. There's been a lot of back and forth. I understand there was Battle Fest, your interdepartmental cultural event, so your schedule was very packed, and even our schedule at our office were packed. But thanks to NSS office bearers, there were a lot of back and forth. They tried to accommodate everyone's wishes, and they tried to reserve this spot for this session. So I feel very happy to have you all here for this wonderful cause. So which is, we are demanding the government to declare January 11 as the National Pedestrians Day from the coming year. So this is an advocacy campaign that we, the Citizen Consumer and Civic Action Group and Sustainable Mobility Network, it's a group of NGOs from around India, we're all coming together to ask the government, along with a lot of wonderful civil society organizations, student bodies like yours, we're all asking the government to prioritize pedestrian safety on our roads. So the single most reason that we're all assembled here is for pedestrian safety. So with that, I would like to go to my presentation where I would tell you how pedestrian safety is important in our country and what grim figures shows us and how we need to react to that at this point. Let me just go to my presentation. I once again thank everyone for joining us here. Sita, am I audible?
Crystal clear, sir.
Perfect. So as I mentioned earlier, we're all assembled here together to ask to declare January 11 as the National Pedestrians Day from the coming year. So, a lot of people presume, I have my car, I have my scooter, I have my motorcycle. So this is not something that concerns me. This is something that concerns pedestrians who only walk. But the point is, even though you own your car or scooter or motorcycle, at some point we are all pedestrians. We do walk. So that is why pedestrian safety is not just concerning people who just walk. It's concerning every one of us. It's a bigger socio-economical issue and something which is in a very serious situation as of now. So why are we asking to declare an exclusive day for this National Pedestrians Day? If you look at it, having exclusive days for a cause really highlights the importance of that issue. It brings the government's attention on it, it brings the public's attention on it, it brings the media's attention on it, and it gets everyone talking. So one of the examples, if you look at it, let's say the Children's Day, it's on November the 14th. So, on November the 14th, it reiterates the fact that children, the rights of children, the education of children, and the well-being of children is important for our overall society. Similarly, if you look at the World AIDS Day on the December 1st, it reiterates the fact that people living with HIV shouldn't be discriminated. We are fighting the disease, not the people who has the condition. So exactly, you have the World Environment Day, which we do a lot of activities on. Similarly, there are a lot of days. So all of these days really bring the attention, the focus to the issue. So, I don't have to introduce myself. Pavitra and all the NSS office bearers did a wonderful introduction about myself and my organization. So again, I will just, summarize it. We work out of Alwarpet. We work on a lot of issues, citizens' rights, consumer rights, mainly environmental issues, and mainly road safety and sustainable transport, how people commute, how are people mobile in an urban setup. And also, we also work closely with the government, where we ask the government to operate in a very transparent way. One of the crux of the work that we do is demanding the government to make their decisions participatory, which means having public consultations, meet and interact with people and trying to understand what they need out of the law that is being framed. So that is one of the crux of the work that we do. So, even pedestrian safety, you can connect it to the bigger picture. We as pedestrians, we need safety because we as citizens, the government needs to keep us safe. Simple as that. So, let's listen to what one pedestrian from Chennai, Mr. Giridhar, has to speak about the pedestrian situation in our city.
வணக்கம். சென்னையின் பாதசாரிகள்கிட்ட ஒரு தனித்துவம் இருக்கும். எந்த சாலையில யாரு கீழே விழுந்தாலும் அவங்களுக்கு போய் தூக்குற முதல் கரம் அவங்களோடதான் தான் இருக்கும் அப்படின்றதுல எந்த மாற்று கருத்தும் இல்லை. நம்ம வெளியே போயிட்டு வர எல்லாருக்குமே ஒரு அன்னைக்கு அவங்க பாக்குறதுல இருந்து ஒரு கதை அவங்களுக்கு கிடைக்கும் சொல்றதுக்கு. அவங்க எதையோ பார்த்து பிரமிச்சிருக்கலாம், கஷ்டப்பட்டிருக்கலாம். பாதசாரிகளுக்கு அவங்களுக்கான கதை என்பது, அவங்க கண்டுகொள்ற கதை என்பது, காட்சி என்பது வேற விதமா இருக்கும் அப்படின்னு நான் நம்புறேன். இந்த பாசிட்டிவ் திங் அவங்கள்ட்ட இருக்கு அப்படின்னாலுமே அவங்களுக்கான சேஃப்டி அப்படின்றது ரொம்ப ஒரு கேள்விக்குறியா தான் இருக்கு. யாரோ ரேஷா போறாங்க அப்படின்னா முதல்ல அடிபடுறது பாதசாரியா தான் இருக்கலாம். அவங்களுக்காகவும் சேர்த்து எல்லா சேஃப்டி ப்ரோட்டோகால்ஸ் இருக்கிறதையும் தாண்டி நம்ம இன்னும் நிறைய அவங்களையும் ப்ரொடெக்ட் பண்ணணும் அப்படின்றது தான் இருக்கிற ரிக்வெஸ்ட். ஒரு பாதசாரி என்பவன் ஒரு ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டண்டான ஒரு ஆள் அப்படின்றது தான் என்னோட கருத்து.
Thank you, Giridhar. So, like what Giridhar underlined, pedestrians are the first to rush to help a victim on the road, but they're also the most affected. They're the most vulnerable road users among all of us. So, how do I say that? If you look at the stats, let's see what the stats has to say. So, this is the statistics by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. These are the pedestrian fatalities for the past 5 years. In 2015, there were 13,000 people who were killed, pedestrians who were killed on our roads. But if you look at 2019, it's 25,000 plus. It's a clear 100% increase. So this is, again, this is the reported fatalities. There are a lot of unreported fatalities that go on in our country. So this was the latest figure in 2019. So 2020 and 21, the ministry hasn't released yet due to the COVID crisis. So we are yet to see whether we see an upward slope again. If you come to our place, if you look at our state, Tamil Nadu, in 2019 alone, 1,044 pedestrians were killed on our roads. 1/3 of all of them were from Chennai. So imagine it's 350, 360 plus pedestrians killed every day. Imagine that is a very, very steep number. So what we are trying to achieve is trying to bring the attention to the government so they prioritize pedestrian safety along with other road users. Enough with the grim statistics. So let's go for a little interactive session. So any one of you would like to tell us how you come to college? Any one of you? No? Else I'm going to call names. I have a list of names from the NSS. Is Kavinita Veni around? No? Anyone would like to speak?
Can I?
Sure, please.
Yeah, I come by car. The mode of transport is a car. So that was the question, right?
Yes. Would you like to add more to that? How does it feel on the road on a car, compared to pedestrians? You want to add more to that?
Usually, I get out of the house around 7:45. So I always have to rush to college because it's a 15-minute ride. So sometimes it's like, the rush, the adrenaline rush, will you reach college before 8, before the bell strikes? So it's usually that. And sometimes I, go early, leave my house early. So then I can go calm. So it's like that. The car trip, it's sometimes it's very calm, sometimes it's not. It's depending on how I leave my house.
Not calm in the sense?
If I don't leave my house before 7:45, then I'll maybe late. I maybe be late, so I might miss out some points that my teacher says. So it's according to that.
Thank you, Sita.
Sir, you're muted.
Like Sita added, we're all trying to reach on time. We're trying to beat the clock, trying to reach somewhere. So all of these adds to the pedestrian issue on the roads. So Sita would have a very different experience from someone who either walks to their college or either takes a paratransit or takes a bus. Anyone else has any other alternative experience different from Sita's?
Shall I, sir?
Sure, please.
First, I'll take a walk to the bus stand nearby. And then if bus is available, I'll go by bus. I'll catch a bus or else I'll catch a share auto and then go to one of the bus stands. And then from there, I have to catch another bus because I have to catch 2 buses. So either I'll pick up the bus at the first itself or I'll take share auto and then catch another bus and then reach college. In morning schedules, the bus travel will be so hectic because they'll push me and they'll be smashing me. So I can't stand direct and I have to wait along to go to the bus, which is something empty or not.
Krishnapriya, how does it feel to change your transport, like you exit a bus, then take a share auto on the road? Can you add
If
something?
I leave by 6:45 or 7, I'll be traveling in a smooth way. Or else I'll be panicking. I have to rush. I have to go forward in a fast way because uh, there aren't a lot of buses. Only a single bus or some other type of buses. So I have to rush.
Thank you, Krishna Priya.
Sir, you're muted again.
Okay. So some of us shared their varied experience on the roads, and some of them would have a different experience. Some of them are more vulnerable than some road users, which I would add. People who entirely walk, or who would have to take the public transport and change. So it is important for us to be sensitive towards their needs. So that. So I would like to ask, can any one of you, any volunteers again? Sorry, I keep disturbing everyone. Can any one of you, identify the mistakes in this picture from a road user point of view?
The truck is standing in the footpath.
Great. Then
the motorcycles are parked alongside.
wonderful again. Great. See, let's say if you visualize yourself walking down this road, I don't have to tell you the difficulties. We all face this every day. And look at the irony of it. It says "Nadaipade nadappadarke," but it's just the opposite that is happened here. And look at the stores that is it's like below the footpath. So everywhere there's a lot of hazard around here. So this is a common sight in our day-to-day Chennai life. Where cars are parked on our footpath, occupying us, motorcycles parked. Let's get to next picture. You can see that more. See, is this a very familiar sight? Anyone?
Yes.
Can you speak more about that? Who's this speaking?
Actually,
Yes.
my dad is one of the persons who does that. I constantly keep telling him not to do that, but still he insists, and he's like, we have to get there, we have to be, on time, so we have to do this. Like, everyone's doing it, so what's the problem? That's what he says.
So he's on a motorcycle then when he says this, or he has
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we're all guilty of this. We see you can see it's a bridge and there's motorcycles on the footpath, and there is. So this is it might appear just another hazard on the road, but if you look at the cycle of pedestrian fatalities, it's always pedestrians trying to walk on the footpath, but which is always encroached by either parked cars, parked motorcycles, or shops, and they are forced to walk on the street, which puts them at risk. A lot of pedestrian fatalities happen like that. It's a vicious cycle like that, which keeps repeating every day on our roads. So that's a very clear picture that explains that. Next. Is it very relatable? Anyone?
Shop is there on the platform path, sir.
Yes, Renuka. Could you like to speak more on that? So, have you experienced this?
Actually, it's wrong, I think so, sir, because they should get a separate place for keeping shop, but they have kept the shop at the pedestrian path. So the pedestrian is actually walking on the road where the vehicle have to go. So it leads to accidents.
Exactly, you rightly said. See, you look at the lady on the street. She's she's bomb on the road, just on vehicle traffic. She's at. I mean, that's what I mentioned earlier. This vicious cycle of encroachments in parked cars and parked bikes, which adds to pedestrians being pushed on the streets. To learn more about this, we work with the NSS. We did a pedestrian safety audit with some of the NSS volunteers on December 6th. Thanks to wonderful volunteers, Sita Abirami, Janani Shri. She's the one who initially coordinated all of this. Esther Persia, Kavinita Veni, and Advita Vasudevan, and Akshaya Nivasini. So all of them, they did wonderful work. So any one of the volunteers, would you like to speak about what you did that day? Any of the volunteers who did the pedestrian safety audit?
Can I, sir? This is Akshaya.
Akshaya, please go ahead, Akshaya.
Two of us, our volunteers went that side, and we went to the opposite side, like the Good Shepherd School side. So Sita, Esther, and myself, we went through that side. So am I audible, or
yes,
is there
yes.
some disturbance?
You are.
Yeah. Okay. So as we walked, there were more obstacles. Like the pavement size was decreasing as we walked. Like first, three of us walked in the pavement, and then slowly two of us walked, and then only one of us can walk on the pavement. And there were also like vendors and stalls on the pavement, and the walkover bridge was locked, so we can't even then what's the purpose of a walkover bridge being there? So it was locked, and we can't even take that. And there was also no zebra crossing on the main road, so it was tough for us to cross the roads. And also the bollards, like it was like when the person is somewhat fat or even medium size, they can't get through into it. So it was really tough doing. And also one of my friends had got caught in the tree. So the tree was really bent, and so her hair also got caught in it. So I feel like the pavement is for pedestrians, but I didn't see the purpose there. Like we couldn't walk freely. So about 50 or only 25% of the pavement was like we can occupy only 25% of the pavement, and other 75% was occupied by these obstacles. So it was tough to walk on the pavement. That's it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Akshaya. So Akshaya and all of our peers, they did that. They did the pedestrian safety audit, and we crunched some numbers. We analyzed the data, and we had some findings. So this was the findings. This was the findings from your campus to the Greens Road junction. So if what we found from the audit was in the if you look at it, we had categorized into different variables, and what we found in the footpath conditions were less than 25% of this was wide enough for two people to walk comfortably. So if you look at it, the left side, the side of your campus was much better than the comparatively to the opposite side, which is the Shankar Netralaya side. I understand that there is a lot of encroachments there. There's a lot of stores, a lot of roadside stalls. There's an auto stand. There's a lot of encroachments there at that side. So we also learned that this was shaded. The footpaths were shaded by trees, and there were bus shelters and seating facilities were available. But there was also a lot of parked vehicles on the footpath. There was obstructions from the electricity board, the transformers, and sometimes electricity board transformers are situated in a very hazardous way, and it gets very complicated when there's rains. And we did this audit in December, where it was right after those rains. And all these adds to the the hazards. So when we looked at when the students looked at the access, there was no ramps. So usually the commercial establishments, they have the ramp. So those ramps were absent. So this was also only less than 25% was present on the left side. The bollards were wider and present in 50 to 75% of the driveways. So the bollards we used to prevent the vehicles from encroaching into the footpaths and taking over the space of pedestrians. They also noted that the crossings, the crossings were raised, which is good actually, which is good, and it adds to the safety. We also asked the student volunteers to count the steps that they took when crossing the road. They counted 18 steps, which is close to 5.50 meters. And they also noted that there was no zebra crossing and no median refuge. So median refuge is a sort of a safe space, a sort of a buffer zone where pedestrians who cross the roads can stay there for some time and then cross the other side of the road. So that was also not present. So overall, the students who audited the WCC to the Greaves Road Junction stretch, they felt they did not feel safe to use the road. They found there was no traffic policemen to handle the traffic, to help the pedestrians. There were shops encroaching on the footpath. Overall, they didn't feel safe walking that stretch. So let's go to the other stretch. So another set of students had set from WCC all the way to the Good Shepherd, the other side of the college, and they had audited the footpath. So what they observed was, in the footpath conditions, 50 to 75% of the footpath is in good condition and was wide enough for two people to walk by. 50 to 75% is good at that side, the Good Shepherd side of your college. It was shaded by trees, and there was sitting space, and there was a bus shelter which was very nicely situated. It had nice seating spot. Then there was also roadside stalls that was available. Shops and roadside vendors had encroached upon their footpath. There were hoardings, there were street lights, there was garbage bins, and they recounted a number of obstructions. If you observe, there was garbage bins, trees, road signs, but EB junction boxes, all of them. It's like a maze where you have to navigate. So this is what I was saying. This walking on our streets has become like a big game. It's like a challenge to walk on our street, which is clear evident in these findings. So there was no ramps with regards to the access. There were no ramps on both sides. The bollards were wide enough for two people to walk side by side and were present in the driveways and intersections. The crossing was raised, which is good, and they were 18 steps wide. The road is pretty much uniform from this stretch to the other side. Clearly, zebra crossing was clearly marked on this side of the campus, and in mid-block with median refuge. Okay, there was no pedestrian lights. Of late, there has been very few pedestrian lights on our streets, and I don't know even pedestrians to follow that. So that is something they really need to work on and add more pedestrian lights. Or my suggestion is to add probably a switch like you find overseas, where you hit the switch and you inform the system that there's a pedestrian waiting to cross. You would have observed this overseas. I think your stretch is a very good place to have that sort of a system. And one even Akshaya mentioned in her speech that this foot overbridge that is near that Standard Chartered Bank, that was locked. So this is something that we have observed in a lot of places in the city. So there is a wonderfully constructed, there's a lot of funds poured into it, and a wonderfully constructed foot overbridge there. But conveniently they lock it because they say there is some antisocial activities happening here, it's not safe. And there is also a gender issue in this, because a lot of women also find it unsafe. Some people hang around there and they feel unsafe to take that, and sometimes they put themselves by risk by crossing the road instead of using the overhead bridge. That is something the government needs to work on to ensure that, because they are putting themselves at risk because we are not able to operate the overhead bridge in a proper way. So this side of the road, the students generally felt safe to use the road because there was not many obstructions comparatively to the other side of the road, and people could walk conveniently side by side. So these were some of the findings that the NSS volunteers found. So the overall, the points, the bigger picture that we got out of it, which comparatively, the footpath infrastructure was better outside your campus. See, it was comparatively better compared to a lot of other places or a lot of other campuses. The footpath was well shaded. They had bus shelters. There was garbage bins, but still there was some spillage. Bolas have been used in most part of the street design to mark traffic boundaries. Tabletop zebra crossing has been provided to prioritize pedestrian safety. Median refuge space has been provided at one side of the street. So comparatively, I feel the audit outside the campus was relatively better compared to other places, which is just fairly good enough, but there's lots to be done. We at the Citizen, Consumer and Civic Action, we did a pedestrian safety infrastructure. You did outside your campus. We did on a bigger scale in Chennai city. We surveyed, roads in South Chennai, North Chennai, South Chennai, and Central Chennai, and we studied how this quality of the footpaths were, whether they were encroachments, whether people could walk on that, whether it was accessible. So the footpath should be accessible to everyone. If it is senior citizens or there's people with disabilities, children, everyone should be able to access the footpath. It should be made in such a way. And whether it was clean or whether it was garbage dumped over it. When garbage is dumped over it, naturally pedestrians will skip the footpath and will walk on the streets, thereby putting them on the risk. So we also interviewed all type of road users, car users, auto rickshaw drivers, pedestrians, bus drivers, two-wheeler drivers, and we also got some very interesting opinions from them. Overall, the survey the opinions I will mention in the next slide. See, the overall findings from the audit that we did was 6 out of 11 places, the footpath quality was very poor. See, all the motorists admitted that pedestrians have the right of way. All of you know that pedestrians have the right of way, though it is not explicitly mentioned in the Motor Vehicle Act, but customarily, pedestrians have the right of way. That is how it has been all around the world. So pedestrians have a right of way. We need to stop to let them pass. That is a standard that we follow. So almost all footpaths were encroached by shops and roadside vendors, parked vehicles, and garbage. All sites were not access friendly. They were not wheelchair friendly. It was not friendly for senior citizens to access, as well as people with disabilities to access. This is the vicious cycle that I have been speaking to you about. Pedestrians walked on the road. Due to encroachments on the footpath access were blocked due to parked vehicles and two-wheelers. Because of these obstructions, they were forced to walk on this road, thereby adding to the overall fatalities. Some of the findings, the opinions that were shared by a lot of road users were, pedestrians felt that motorists, they didn't care for them. They just zoomed through them. They didn't want to stop for them. They felt very threatened to walk on the street. They felt they were very vulnerable. They were sheer afraid to walk on the streets. So that was a very, very clear idea that was coming out of these studies. And the pedestrians explicitly mentioned that they don't feel safe at all on Chennai roads because it was very pedestrian unfriendly. See, apart from the pedestrian safety, why do we need to ask for prioritizing walking and pedestrians? It is not just about the road users, the vehicles and accidents and danger. It has a bigger picture. It is very closely associated with we as humans. If you look at walking, walking is one of the oldest forms of mobility for humans. Walking really set us apart. If you look at evolution, walking really able to walk, change the course of humanity. So walking is a very, very important part of our life. So if you look at the statistics, the overall national statistics, so 1/3 of all work trips, so a lot of people, so we are all minority, people who have cars, who have scooters, we're a very small minority. If you look at the overall national picture, we are overwhelmingly a walking nation. Very, very small minority only own cars and motorcycles and scooters. So women tend to walk more than men. So that is another. This is a National Statistical Organization study. They do regular studies and on these subjects. So walking also, helps skip public transport and personal vehicles, which adds to the overall environmental. It helps the environment. And walking is equitable and affordable because it is accessible to everyone, irrespective of whether you have money, you're rich or poor. You can walk. And like the NSS office bearers mentioned earlier, overwhelming number of school children walk to school. People who commute on cars, it's a very small minority in the urban centers. So if you look at the global cities, most of them prioritize walking and cycling over cars. So if you look at our cities, it's the ulta. Everyone wants to have car. I mean, they prioritize. They consider only vehicle users as legitimate road users because they say they pay taxes, but that's not the case. Everyone pays taxes. That's not even an argument. So apart from the external factors, if we look at the internal factors, I mean, almost everyone knows that walking is good for our health. If you're stressed with your, you need to turn in a paper or you have an exam, you're all cluttered with your thoughts, you take a walk. Everyone knows that it really changes your mindset. It sets you to do work. So it's very, very important. And studies have also proven that people who walk really support the local economy. Like, let's see, if you were to buy your groceries or your supplies from online, you buy online, it comes from another, different an e-commerce website that is situated elsewhere. But if you walk and shop, you're more likely to shop in your neighborhood. You're supporting the local economy, and also it builds local connections. Walking really gets you acquainted with your neighbors, which is always good. You need to have a strong neighborhood. So that is another reason. So also, culturally speaking, we have a very, very long history of walking. We walk to gain our freedom. We have a very strong culture of walking, taking pilgrimages. All faiths, we have a very, very long history of walking to our pilgrimage centers. Walking is very, very innate to our culture. So like I first mentioned, everyone is a pedestrian at some point. So also adding to the environmental issue. So if you look at this stats, this numbers, people who walk and cycle contribute 0 CO2 emissions to the environment. But if you look at scooters, motorcycles, a petrol car, 800 or a Swift, and look at a bigger diesel SUV, you can see how much of CO2 they pump into the environment. So you can pretty much see what good you do by walking and what you do by driving your personal vehicle. So it's always important, or it is definitely worthwhile if you were to walk or cycle or take a public transport. I mean, I don't have to tell you how difficult it is to have a personal vehicle at this point of time in Chennai. So if you look at the stats on that part, in 2000, there were only 1.3 million vehicles in Chennai city. But if you look at 2018, it is 6 million. So look at it, it is close to 4 to 5-fold increase. So that is also, you can connect it to the pedestrian, because of the congestion, you can connect it to the pedestrian fatalities. Because there's a lot of congestion, there's no space for vehicles. And, they occupy all the footpath, they ride on the footpath, like one of our colleagues, one of our students mentioned, we're all guilty of riding on our footpaths. So, hope we change that. So let's listen to Deepthi Rao, what she has to say about, how prioritizing pedestrian needs is important for a city that is looking to become a global city and become bigger.
I believe pedestrian safety is a civic issue that really differentiates the average city from the great ones. As we look towards the future, we are becoming more and more conscious of the harmful effects of pollution and heavy traffic. Cities around the world have made efforts to support their people who are not just in vehicles, but those who are also on cycles and who are also walking. And a government that is able to make roads safe for everyone across the board is the one that is truly working for society.
Thank you, Deepthi. We heard from Deepthi what she had to say about. So, we discussed in length. All of us shared, what are the hazards that are on the road? What are we doing wrong? What can we do to change this? See, this is, if you look at this infograph, it clearly mentioned if a vehicle were to travel at 30 kilometers per hour, 40 kilometers per hour, and what happens if it's traveling at 50 kilometers per hour, and if it were to meet with an accident with a pedestrian. So you can clearly say if the vehicle is traveling at 30 kilometers per hour, the pedestrian who meets an accident with the vehicle, 9 out of them are bound to survive. But if you look at 50 kilometers, only 2 out of them are bound to survive. So the point is to slow down and stick with the speed limits. So when I talk about speed limits, can anyone tell me what are the speed limits in our city? Most of them, I think you drive your cars and you ride your scooters and your motorcycles. Can someone tell me what is the speed limit that is in our city? Anyone? It's okay, even if it's wrong. It's okay. Please feel free to tell me.
40.
We can always just. Yes, Esther. Hello.
40?
44?
No, 40.
As in 40 for which mode of transport? Each mode of transport has a speed limit, different speed limit. It's not the same.
Scooty, bike.
Oh, okay. It's 40, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Esther, definitely you're correct, Esther. So I will tell you the stats by the Chennai City, the limits of speed limits by the Chennai City Traffic Police. So there is 2 slots. So there is one from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. There is a speed limit then, and there is another speed limit from 10 p.m. to morning 7. So we look at the 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and if you're riding a 2-wheeler or a car, you're allowed to go 40 kilometers per hour. If it is after 10 p.m., you're allowed to ride at 50 kilometers per hour. So remember, it is 40 kilometers and 50 kilometers. 40 kilometers in the morning and 50 kilometers in the night time when it is safer. I would, you can have a reflection of how many of you are sticking within the speed limits. I mean, if not, please, it's time to change that. It's always better to slow down and let the pedestrians pass. That is the least you could do for pedestrians. So that is one thing you can do. So the next is we're going to the end of the presentation. So another is that another option is you can sign the petition. So this is what I mentioned. So as the Citizen, Consumer and Civic Action Group and the Sustainable Mobility Network, we are gathering a lot of people to sign the petition so that we can press the government to demand the National Pedestrian Day. So this is the QR code for that. I mean, I have placed, I think I've placed a link. Let me place the link of that, the link of that on the chat window. And this is alternatively, there's the QR code that you can scan and you can sign in. It's a petition that you can sign in. It adds to the overall cost. So it will definitely get the government's attention. So with that, I hope you got the situation that is going on. So with this, please feel free to sign the petition, by clicking the link or by scanning the QR code. So now I conclude and I would like to open the floor for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Volunteers, kindly post your questions in the chat box or unmute yourselves and ask your questions. Volunteers, kindly post your questions in the chat box or unmute yourselves. Okay, I guess there's no questions, sir. Sir, can we move on to the conclusion?
Yeah. So the idea is, I mentioned clearly, what is the pedestrian situation in our country and how dismal it is, and how it has been, on a clear, clear upswing in the past 5 years, and it really closely is connected with the overall increase in vehicle ownership and congestion and encroachments. So the idea is to make the government to make a pedestrian policy so that we prioritize. If you look at the road safety policy, we have the electric vehicle policy. There is an electric vehicle policy where the government vouches to make electric vehicles a certain share of vehicle sales in our country electric. So there's a lot of there is a vehicle scrappage policy. There is a whole lot of policies for other users. So the point is to prioritize pedestrian safety. The idea, the session is to bring that in front of the students and for you to go back and the least you could do is sign the petition and support your voice for that. That's it, Pavitra. That's what we do.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Manushree, Assistant Coordinator of Abstinence, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to propose the vote of thanks for this event. On behalf of NSS WCC, first and foremost, I would like to express my deep gratitude to our distinguished speaker of the day, Mr. PETSON Peter from CAG organization, for taking time out from his busy schedule to enlighten our volunteers with his inspiring, thought-provoking, and powerful words. Thank you so much, sir, for keeping the session fun, informative, and interactive. All of us thoroughly enjoyed the session today. I would also like to extend my thanks to our principal, Miss Lillian I. Jasper, and our NSS program officer, Ms. Anuradha, for their constant support and guidance in enabling us to organize this event. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all our NSS office bearers for their help in making this event a success, and also to our beloved volunteers for their active participation and cooperation throughout the event. Once again, thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you very much for having me. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Enjoy your holidays, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sita, it's fine, right? You can conclude, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sita. Again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Volunteers, kindly stay back, fill the feedback form, and then you can leave the meeting.